In late March of 2020, Joseph Lee rushed out of Japan after a quick 1-week trip to make final visits to clients and colleagues. The training industry, excuse me, I'm gonna let folks in as we're. The training industry, as we know it, was going to die. We were led to believe that COVID was going to be a game changer, and it was, but not in the way we thought. In this interactive session, Joseph Lee will share with participants his personal story. It's a story of nothing being what it seems, where things are upside down and where the most important learning is that the answer is never the most important thing in our lives. It's the question that we ask. Our presenter for this session is Joseph Lee. During the COVID pandemic of 2020, Joseph spent most of his time playing golf with his 2 grandchildren, Emily, 6 years old, and Samuel, 4 years old, BC, before COVID. He was helping large Japanese companies develop their next generation of leaders, a profession he's loved since departing the consulting arm of KPMG in 2005. In that time, he's written a suspense novel, taught MBA classes at Drucker School in Japan, and made a pilgrimage to Oregon to witness the great American eclipse of 2020. At KPMG, his role was twofold: to swing for the fences to get big engagements from big clients, and to develop talent in whatever team he was assigned. Having been born in Hong Kong and having grown up in Japan, he's often wondered whether he was multicultural or simply a person who with no home country, perhaps both. As a result, he's developed a different way of looking at the world, a perspective that he enjoys sharing with all his trainees and with anyone who will listen. At this time, I'm going to turn our session to Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Shardina. And good morning, everyone. First of all, can I ask everyone a favor and ask you to turn on your camera so I can see you, if that's okay? So it would be nice if I could see all of you and you could see each other. Okay, I don't think we have too many in this session, so hopefully we can see everyone. A few more waiting. Okay, while we're switching on our cameras, thanks for the introduction. I'm just going to go straight ahead. I'm physically based in Bakersfield, California. We're 3 time zones away. Every day I get to enjoy 100-degree weather, except it's a little drier than Pittsburgh. We're just talking Shardina. And actually, quick question. How many of you have watched the opening ceremonies of the Tokyo Olympics? Anyone? One? Okay, one. Okay, time zone difference. And I was just actually telling Shardina, if there's one part of the Olympics opening ceremony you do want to watch, they have a pictogram. Fong, you watched it, right? Do you remember the pictogram? Okay.
I watched parts of it.
Parts of it, okay. I'm sure this is going to go viral. They have 2 or 3 actors who actually look like pictograms, and they're going to reenact the pictogram of all 50, competitive events in a matter of 3 to 5 minutes. All right. So if you miss all of the opening ceremony, watch this one. Okay. So that's probably, hopefully it's not the best part of the session, but something that you'll remember. Okay. A little background on myself. I was born in Hong Kong, grew up in Tokyo. I speak Japanese. I went to Oregon for college, and then I got my MBA at Chicago. And then I went into a firm called KPMG, did some accounting work, went independent, and then went back to KPMG, did a lot of consulting work. Since 2005, my job has been primarily leadership development, and all of my clients are fairly big accounts in Japan. They are the Hitachis, the Toyota, and Itochu, and even Amazon Japan. So I work with some of the larger companies. And there's some things that's very interesting, because if you go to MBA and then you think that you learn everything, and then so why do companies pay even more money to train people after they get their MBAs? And therein perhaps lies the answer of what might be missing in what we're learning. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay. I also happen to have, after I left KPMG, I started writing novels and so forth. So I like to view myself as a storyteller. And so today will be a very, how should I say, it'll be a story that will go sort of all around the place. And we'll try to come back to the main theme as to why is COVID such a big deal? But perhaps more importantly, what is it that we can learn about ourselves? So these are some of my clients. So we'll try to do sort of the mini intros until 1:10. Talk a little bit about the training world. Drucker talked about living in two worlds, having two careers, and that could be sort of the secret of surviving what we have. And then this whole concept of challenging everything. You are free to interrupt me and ask questions. I do have a time limit, so if I can't answer, perhaps we'll try to push it back to the end. But if anything I say doesn't make sense or it's different from what you've learned, feel free to either raise your hand. Since I can see you, you can raise your hand. During my training classes, I actually make people make these little fans telling me how happy they are with what I'm saying or how unhappy they are. And then whenever they have a question, they usually raise this. Or if they like what I'm saying, they can do this. Obviously, you don't have time to do that. But if you have a piece of paper and then if what I'm saying doesn't make sense, feel free to show me one of these guys. Okay. And moving forward. I taught at Drucker School. Peter Drucker is fairly well known. By the way, anybody here have never heard of Peter Drucker? If you could just never heard of Peter Drucker, never heard. So that means everybody else has heard of Peter Drucker. So Yanni, you heard of Peter Drucker? Yanni Ma, can you unmute? Can you unmute?
Yeah, I thought I did. Okay.
Okay. You heard of Peter Drucker?
I thought it was like management theory or something. Business.
Okay, yeah, he's sort of a management guru. He wrote a lot of books about. And he passed away, I think, about 12 years ago. And this is one of the things that he says is that we studied strategy a lot, but the most important thing is culture. And he talks about culture eats strategy for breakfast. So what is this concept of culture? And basically it has to do with human beings. Drucker was a big believer of management as a liberal art because it dealt with human. And when we talk about leadership, he, in his book, Effective Executive, this is how he characterized it. He didn't like this whole concept of charisma and all of that. He wanted to focus on sort of being better, sort of like the Olympic spirit. Wherever you are, let's see if we can lift it higher. So he said, leadership is lifting a person's vision to higher heights, the raising of a person's performance to a higher standard, and a building of a personality beyond its normal limitations. So vision to a higher side is interesting because often when we talk about vision, we think of Steve Jobs, we think of Elon Musk, and we think of these big visionaries. And I'd like to sort of go away from that. The raising of a person's performance is defined by two activities, okay? One is that there's change behavior, okay? You have to do something, okay? And then you have to have a result. Performance means that there's an activity and then there's a result. And so the raising of a performance is like, if you used to bat 250 in baseball, the next year you're batting 280. A batter who's hitting 250 goes to 280 is a paradigm shift in baseball, okay? That's a massive improvement. And finally, he talks about the building of a personality beyond its normal limitations. So this is where he talks a lot about integrity. It's not just doing all of these successful things. We often say, management is, doing things right, but leadership is doing the right things. And that's a word that he likes to use a lot. Going back to the vision concept, By the way, this is my grandson, Samuel, a few months ago. So he's peeking out the window, okay? And the reason he's peeking out the window is that there's a lawnmower going on in the backyard, and he could hear it, but he can't see it, okay? So little Samuel, who was like 2.5 years old, his vision is the wall, okay? And then I can stand there and I can explain to Samuel, okay, you know, there's this lawnmower, he's out there cutting the grass, and then he's making a lot of noise because there's this machine. I can explain that all I want, it means nothing to him. And so what do I do as a leader? Do I try to explain it to him that the right way to look at the world, or do I give him something else? And what I can give him is a little stool, okay? And that little stool, actually, I have right here. So this stool, okay, so when he steps on the stool, he can see the world through his own eyes. Okay, so instead of me explaining and telling what he should see, all I do is let him see what is out there, and he will make the decision of what that vision is like. The reason vision is an important concept is not because it's great. It's because we can see the same things and then interpret it in whatever way we choose to interpret it. And that's why the word vision is used a lot. And if you go to a Disney training, they do a lot of training. They use the word vision a lot because the most important thing about vision is not its greatness. It's its ability to be shared. Okay, so something that we want to think about. And then Drucker talks about actually focusing on contribution. And when you focus on contribution, he says you hit the 4 basic requirements of human relations. And he talks about communication. We do a lot of training in communication, teamwork, self-development, and the development of others. And the second word here, teamwork, is actually quite interesting. Let's say you have a chance to interview World Series champion, NBA champion LeBron James, or one of those superstars. Have you ever thought, what's the thing that makes them the happiest that they hear from a teammate? What will make LeBron James or what will make Kobe Bryant very happy if he hears something from a teammate? Avery, you happen to. So if you're a superstar, what would you love to hear from one of your teammates?
I mean, I think a basic thing would just be good job, but they probably hear that a lot being the as they are.
Yeah, I mean, very simple. Joshua, what would you like to hear?
Well, I mean, just some words of acknowledgement and praise.
Okay. What kind of praise?
Like, oh, wow, you really tried. I appreciate your effort.
Okay. And those are really powerful words. But when we go back to it and you listen to Kobe Bryant talking, it seems like it goes back to one set of words that make them really happy. And it's, you make me a better player. All right. Superstars love to hear that. It's not how great they are and so forth, but that playing with them make the people around them better. Okay, it's not like you're standing around and you're an average player, but when you're playing with Kobe, all of a sudden he whips you a pass and it's an easy layup for you. He makes you a better player. So the whole idea of self-development and development of others is how do we make the people around us successful? So this is very, very people focused. And that's where contribution is coming from. And we talk about servant leadership and so forth. So these are some of the basic concepts I just wanted to throw out there for you. Okay, I don't know if any of you remember 16 months ago. I guess for the younger generation, 16 months ago is just long time ago. When you get older, like I do, 16 months ago was okay. It's almost I shouldn't say yesterday, but because we live longer, 1 year and 18 months, it feels not that long. But do we even remember? Do we remember where we were in March 2020? How have you changed? Did you change at all? And did you simply see yourself more clearly now? So the big question really is, did we really change? Okay. And that's a question that a lot of clients are asking. And, everybody says COVID is a game changer, but was it? So I'm going 16 months ago. I traveled to Tokyo for a week, actually, sort of last minute visits. I knew it was going to get shut down. So I wanted to meet with some of my clients at the last minute. And so in the States, it was already, we were panicking. California was shutting down and so forth. But I go to Tokyo, and then I'm in the train. This is the Yamanote line, okay, right here on the left upper corner. So someone's giving me a peace sign in a crammed train, and I say, oh, Japan, even though they had COVID under control at that time, I was saying, hey, not very good, not very good. You know, I walked the cherry blossoms, I went to Mount Fuji, look at the crowded trains. And then I fly back to Los Angeles, and as you fly over LA, you cross the 405 freeway, which is the most crowded freeway in the United States, 405. And then look at it, no cars here, okay? So the US was changing, and there was a massive change in my industry, the training industry, because in-person training was most important for me, and then that was gone. And then as far as I was concerned, 2020 was history. So this was my initial plan. Give up for 2020. It's gone. There's nothing I can do. COVID's not going to change. And then because I was so good at selling experiential training, in-person training, when I approached clients about doing it online, they said, "Oh, Mr. Lee, you know, we like your presence. So let's not, you know, force things." So I said, okay. So I decided to take time off, play with my grandkids. So I actually didn't play golf with my grandkids, but I played with my grandkids and play more golf. So that was my like 12-month plan, because it was gone. I wasn't gonna waste my money. I had to sort of dig deep into my retirement account and say, okay, it's gone. But interesting things happened. So I did play with the grandkids. I did play a lot of golf. Around June of last year, I started getting calls from my clients in Japan. So all my clients are in Japan, actually. And then they said, you know, Mr. Lee, can we start doing something, you know, by Zoom? And then we started talking about what's possible. And the thing that you started realizing was that clients were not looking for, like, quote unquote, how to operate in the Zoom world. They thought they were, but the reality was the Zoom world was irrelevant. It was, how do we connect as human beings? And what Zoom did was that it narrowed the band in which we can communicate, which means that the person who can dominate that band, that narrow band, okay, you win, okay? If you can have deep discussions in a Zoom environment with people, most people can't do that, okay? They're so busy sort of checking to-do lists, so you win. And how do you win through that? And then the thing is, it's the emotional connection that people lack. It's very hard to have that emotional connection. Okay, so you know, Zoom happened, and then I came back and I made a bunch of videos, and then I started doing Zoom training, and amazingly, it wasn't too bad. Okay, I didn't get as many clients, but because I didn't have to worry about hotel costs and airfares, I actually made more money. Okay, so it was sort of okay. And so the number one issue wasn't about AI or technology. The number one issue was, how do we reconnect as human beings in this disconnected world? So that sort of became a big topic. And so, you know, we're trying to understand how does the human mind work? And some of you may have studied this, you know, brain science and so forth. Okay, there's data to indicate that about 11 million bits of information hit our brains every moment, okay, not every second, every moment, okay. And then that sounds like a lot of information, but if you have a digital camera, an iPhone or something, and you snap a photo, what, that's 5 megs, right? Okay, and so if you have a good photo, it's 10 megs. So you immediately think that 11 million bits is, oh yeah, that makes sense. So the question is, how many bits do you think stays in our mind? Guessing game. Katie Carr, take a guess. 1%, 10%, 50%?
I want to go somewhere around 5 to 10%.
5 to 10%. So 5 to 10% of 11 million bits. Okay. So that is about what? 550,000 bits? 5% is about 550,000. How many people think it's lower than that? Fong, you think it's lower? How much lower?
Yeah, I was actually thinking somewhere around 0.1 or 0.01%.
Okay, let's go 0.01%. I think that would take it down to 11,000 bits, something like that. All right. Okay, so let's not hold up the suspense. The answer actually is 60. Okay, not 60%. It's 60 bits. Okay, essentially, we are living in a blind world. Okay, so much information comes by us that we actually don't even process it. Okay, and let me ask you a question. Okay, it's a hot day here. I'm air conditioned here, which is fine. Okay, and all of you can see me, right? All of you can see me. All right, and I've been sipping on my Starbucks iced tea lemonade. Actually, I made this at home. All right, and you've all seen that. All right, okay. Let's see, Lynn. I don't know how long you've been on the session. How many times have I sipped my Starbucks iced tea lemonade?
I haven't been here for too long, and I have to run to I'm at work right now.
Okay.
I'm leaving in 7 minutes, but probably like 3 times. I don't know.
Anybody
Probably
else?
A lot more, maybe 10.
Anybody else? Madeline?
Something I don't remember you sipping it at all.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe once or twice and I just missed it.
And that's okay. See, the thing is, it happened, you see it and so forth. If I do this, for instance, in Japan in front of a Japanese client, when I start doing this and start drinking it, and I'm talking, they say, well, this guy has bad manners, Maybe in America it's okay, but in Japan we don't drink and talk. And then it bothers them a lot. And then after I repeat it a few times, it goes away. And what happens is it becomes unimportant. And when it becomes unimportant, it goes away. It doesn't matter anymore. All right. And that's the whole idea, is that we see a lot of information, but if it doesn't matter, it goes away. Okay. And at the forefront of this is what stays in the mind. What stays in the mind is whatever we pay attention to. And we use the word awareness and so forth. Okay. And the one thing that drives awareness, okay, is curiosity. Think about it this way. Okay. Let's see. Can I, whoever joined later, if you can turn on your cameras, I would appreciate it. Let me go back to you, Katie. Okay, we've been taught that time is one of the most important resources to manage because it's the most important. It goes away. Okay, if you take classes in mindfulness, they tell you that attention is the most important resource. So, Katie, question mark. Do you have a favorite actor or actress or actor? I guess is the word.
I don't.
You don't? A famous person that you love to meet.
I can't choose. I don't know.
Just pick a name. Any name.
Beyonce.
Frances Hesselbein.
I said Beyonce, but that's close.
Beyonce. Okay, Beyonce. Beyonce is good. Okay, so Katie, you happen to be traveling. All right, you're very successful. You fly first class. You're in the lounge. All right, you're in the lounge, and you're playing this newest mobile game that you just downloaded. All right, and then you're playing it, and then Beyonce happens to be in the first class lounge, although she's probably flying her private jet. So she walks by you, and then there happens to be a banana on the floor. She slips on it, and then she almost falls down, and then she taps on your shoulder, holds onto your shoulder, and then because of you, her life was saved. And she says, thank you. Okay? And you're playing your game, and then you look at this woman who tapped your shoulder, and then you go like this, come on, get off me, I'm busy. All right? And then you don't notice that's Beyonce. In your life, you never met Beyonce. Okay? Our life is not the sum of the time that we lived. Our life is the sum of the attention that we paid and what we are aware of. And that's why attention is the most important resource that we have to manage. Okay? This is something that we talk about a lot in the self-awareness and management classes. So just think about that. And where does attention come from? It's curiosity. Are we curious about the world around us? So this is sort of how we look at the world. And then if we do a few quizzes like this, this is the Munker's illusion. Can you tell me A and B, which of these are darker, A or B? Whoever thinks A is darker, raise your hand. And okay, and many of you, and it does look darker, but if we take away the black lines, we see that A and B are exactly the same. So even though we think that there's reality out there, our reality is clouded by what's around it. Again, this is demonstrated numerous times. Okay, this is a photo taken almost a year ago in a Scandinavian city, and you can tell that these guys aren't doing any social distancing. Okay, and then you take a look at this city, and then you see, hey, this is a very, very socially conscious world where they're socially distant. But in reality, what is it? This is the same place. Okay, it's just taken from a different angle. So the reality out there that we should be looking at isn't really what's different out there. It's how we look at the world. Okay, and how we look at the world makes us make decisions. Okay, and so the two worlds aren't two countries, but they are the worlds in our mind. Okay, it's the lens through which we see the world that impacts how we make decisions. And then this is a script. These are all scribbles of where our eyes go when we see a painting. Because so much information goes by us, we do not actually see in video, we see in snapshots, and then we basically put them together. And all the green dots are where our eyes stop. Our eyes typically look for people, okay? Because when we create stories in our mind, we like to look for people. So it's always people-centric. And also, if you like conflict, you're looking for, if there's conflict there, if you like nature, you might be looking for nature. So once again, we are looking at different realities. So this is sort of the backdrop under which we live. And what I like to do is to sort of go back and think about the two lives concept that Drucker was talking about. And I sort of split it up into the professional and the human side. Like I was born in Hong Kong in 58. I went to Tokyo. So this is my two culture thing. In 76, I went to Portland, Oregon. So I was born in Hong Kong. I grew up in Japan. I have a US citizenship. So when people ask me, what are you? I go to Hong Kong and they think I'm a Japanese tourist. I go to Japan and they think I'm American because I dress differently. I'm in the States and then people ask you, where are you from, right? So everywhere I go, I'm an alien, I'm a foreigner. And that sort of, changes how you look at the world. And in 2005, I left KPMG. And then I moved to Bakersfield in 2017, primarily because of my two grandkids. So the professional side of me, the major changing event was 9/11. I happened to be on a plane from New York, New Jersey to Los Angeles on 9/11. And my plane was grounded. It was flying midair and it was grounded. And it just so happened I was on a United flight. And it just so happened that I was on an Airbus. So if I was flying actually to San Francisco on a Boeing, I would have gone down. Okay, so these are the kind of things that make you think about the world. But the reason I actually bring is after I left KPMG, it seemed like I discovered sort of a human side of our development. And this is where, all these things about success and so forth no longer matter, but other things do. And I was able to see the eclipse, grandkids, and so forth. And so you realize that the professional world, you're taking care of the urgent. And in the human world, you're taking care of the important. And there's a very interesting blog, I think from 2005, Seth Godin wrote, Deconstructing Urgent versus Important. By the way, these slides, I have my email address at the end of the slide. Send me an email and send this to you, or I can send it to Sheridan and she can distribute it to you. This is from a blog. He talked about deconstructing urgent versus important. And he says that if a 6-year-old girl throws a tantrum and refuses to go to school, you convince her that's urgent, but for getting a good education, going to school every day is important. Killing the bugs in your kitchen with a spray or whacking them, that's urgent. But perhaps putting weather stripping is more important. Okay, important means long-term foundational. Okay. And the thing is that if you take care of important things, the urgent thing, you realize that fewer and fewer of that happens. But the reverse is never true. If you do the urgent, the important things never get taken care of. And one way to look at it is urgent matters is someone else's top news. It's CNN. urgent matters. Important matters is your top news. Okay. And the big question is, whose news are you going to live with? Think of the word business. Business has the word busy in. By definition, business is taking care of urgent matters. Okay. I used to think that at KPMG, and I wrote in my resume that I swing for the fences. So my primary role is to get large clients. That was important. But after I leave, I realized that that was urgent because that only benefited me. Perhaps the more important thing was for me to develop people who could do that instead of just Joseph Lee being the big, grand slam hitter within the organization to make myself feel self-important. Okay. So important versus urgent, these become sort of big things. And these are actually, I like to document a lot of things that I do by taking photos. So this was the Great American Eclipse of 2017. I think I drove up to Oregon for that. I wrote a novel, Mount Fuji. And then sort of the people side. The photo on the left, after I left KPMG, my younger sister was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And the last 5 months I spent with her was the toughest time in my life, but perhaps the time most worth living in terms of interaction with people and just facing truth. Ken Watanabe, he was in The King and I happened to play golf with him once. And then, of course, my grandkids. So these things become a little bit more important. So my little oasis, Emily and Samuel. So, what is your oasis? And one of the neat things about the oasis is when you focus on them, you start learning things that you didn't think you could. And let me share with you, okay, a learning experience. And I'll just let you watch it. This is Emily. She is my granddaughter. At this point, I think she was about 18, maybe 15 months. We took her to a shopping mall. We put her into a place where they were doing freeze dancing. Never done it before. We couldn't explain it to her. This is what happened. She's so little. She's the little one in there. Watching, learning.
I see a woman.
So the secrets to learning, observing, doing, curiosity, and unafraid to fail.
Oh, you're still moving!
And one of the reasons she's unafraid to fail comes at the end. If you take a look at the top of the screen, she's dancing. And right there's mommy. Right there. Okay? So the reason this actually meant a lot to me is because I'm in the learning business and I watch and I wonder why kids learn so fast. And then the reason is the unafraid to fail part. And how do we create that safe space so that people can do that? And the thing is, embarrassment and pride are the number one inhibitors of our ability to learn. We don't want to look bad. Okay, you go everywhere. We don't want to look bad is scary. And then just, for young folks, a lot of people think that, oh, that's an older person problem. It isn't. Pride is really major in terms of peer pressure. So if you're afraid to fail, that trait doesn't exist just for the older generation. So you keep that in mind. Okay. And the big picture, about 11 years ago, and many of you probably don't remember, the world actually almost came apart. The Lehman shock. Okay, and there was a movie that was made at that time called The Big Short. And at the intro, there's a Mark Twain quote. It says, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." Okay, and this is where I know is the worst answer to a lot of the questions because we already know the answer. If you already know the answer, you stop asking the questions. Okay. And so why do we believe what we are told, about being successful, about focus, failure, best practices? Best practices is one of the biggest inhibitors to change because all we do is copy other people. And solutions business. I used to sell Oracle and PeopleSoft to clients. Okay. And I'll tell you one thing, if you are focused on the solutions business, you start losing the ability to listen to people. Okay. I go to a client, they tell me a lot of things. They say, oh, Mr. Lee, and I only have one thing to sell, Oracle or PeopleSoft. And so I don't care what they're saying. Whatever they say, I say, you know what? I think Oracle Logistics works for you. Because I had that prepared. Instead of listening for what their problem is, we start listening so that we can give them our predetermined solution. People with solutions are a dime a dozen. People who can ask good questions, that's really hard to find. So I think, you may hear a lot about solutions and answers and so forth. The world is full of people who give answers. We don't need them anymore. Well, we do. Okay, we do need them. But the people who are asking the questions are perhaps more important. And just a question, have you ever thought, that every single time management class, the output of a time management class is a scheduler, to-do list, checklist, that's not managing time. That's allowing time to manage you. You are being put into the construct of the 60 minutes of this, 8 hours per day. You're not managing time. You're essentially learning how to have time manage you. Okay, so what happened to actually trying to manage time is understanding, and we learned that time cannot go backward because once it's gone, it's lost. We can't time travel. But maybe we can. All right. I go with a few quotes right now. Be careful about chasing what is popular. Jim Collins, I think, who was quoted before, companies fail not because they fail to act on new information. They fail because they do not implement fundamental management. And today we keep answering a lot of irrelevant questions with increasingly precise answers because we have data. Okay. Do we fall under that trap? And from Tim Cook, this is from last year's, I think, Tulane University, his commencement address. We forget sometimes that our pre-existing beliefs have their own force of gravity. Today, certain algorithms pull toward you the things you already know. So basically, social media, the more you click on it, the more it comes. And because it pulls for you things you already believe or like, they push away everything else. And he's saying, push back. Okay, don't let people tell you how to think. And COVID was never the problem because we were. The simple truth is that these things on the top, masks and the vaccine, they mostly work, Our brains, not so much. We have the answers in front of us, but we create problems so that we can't solve them, and then that's exactly what Tim Cook was saying, because we keep saying if we think that somebody we don't like is promoting it, it must be bad. So this is, all the social media. I won't say which one, I'll just have them out here. Okay, and how does that impact us? Is that, well, we don't want to be too quote unquote political. We want to be able to listen to both sides. And I sort of leave with this, be passionate about it. Elie Wiesel, he was a Holocaust survivor, and he said that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. And the thing is, if people can make you indifferent about things, they win. And so everything that we do is how we connect with others, how do we do it with passion? That's something that we believe in. How do we do that? And that's something that I'd really like to push forward. Okay. Shadina? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I have 4 more minutes?
Yes.
Let me, all of you, I wanted to share this video. I think it runs about 5 minutes, but I'm going to show you at least where it's going. and then leave that. Remember I said time travel is impossible? I'm going to show you how time travel is possible, and it's through your imagination. And take a look. Just a second.
I'm Christy,
I'm Tavis.
and we know each other because we're getting married in a month.
I mean, not really nervous about the idea of marriage. I'm just ready for that already.
Yeah, not anymore. Now we're a month out already, just ready to
More about just like
get the show on the road.
We're gonna be able to show people this, like our
our kids, or like you know, our family. Like this is what it will look like. My mom thinks this is the coolest thing ever, and she was like, "But what a treat for us that because we will probably be gone when you're that age, and we'll get to see what you would maybe look like. How cool! Neat way to think about it."
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hi.
Hi.
I hope you look like this.
Oh, thanks.
You look fantastic.
Ah!
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna look just like my mother one day.
Oh my god. Okay, so I need to start using sunscreen. That's definitely it.
What are some stereotypes at this age?
We're gonna have a pretty stereotypical life, but we already have a rescue pit bull and we drive a Subaru.
So we'll probably have a couple of teenagers. Ugh. That'll be rough.
That'll be terrible. We'll be on the PTA. Oh god, that sounds so weird.
And take a look.
How you doing? You've been in the sun.
Your eyebrows.
I'm pretty happy with the way that she looks, yeah.
You look a lot older than I thought you would. I look like my grandma.
Oh my god. I did not age well.
I hope I'm taking better care of your hair at this age.
Why are you getting so emotional?
I don't know.
I can't help but think about what the potential last 50 years were.
Yeah.
Like, to see her look like this makes me just think of where we have gone to be next to each other at looking like this. What would have happened in between?
Well, I have kids and grandkids and so many stories.
Yeah. And we'll be forgetting things. So many things.
We'll have to take care of each other.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just a really kind of affecting thing to see someone that you've known since you were, I don't know, 19, look in their 70s and imagine what life would be like then.
Go for it.
Oh.
Hi. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
You look a day over 75.
Really?
Yeah.
You do, but... Oh, wow. What an incredible thing to see. That's a pretty good head of hair.
Oh my god.
What do you think?
I think I look pretty darn good.
I do too.
Yeah. When I smile, I look like a very jolly old man, and when I don't smile, I look like a stern asshole. I gotta be honest.
Do you think you'll still be sexually active?
No. We'll be tired.
I'll still try.
You probably will.
I'll still try.
What would be the last words you guys would say?
Last words, that's really intense. I don't know, I guess I would always just want to make sure he knew how much I loved him. And how important he's been to me.
You just made me a better person. There's so many things that I couldn't be without you. And will never be without you.
We should write these down because we're writing our own vows. Could use them in a month. There's some like strange, like comforting feeling seeing him this way.
Holy crap. This
Just
is
like, I don't know, like especially being about to get married and embarking on all of that. It's like I couldn't be more sure that this is what I want.
So I'll leave you with that thought that our journey in life is always about self-discovery. And as promised, this is my email address. If you want links to those videos and the slide, feel free to send it to me. And apologize for running a little bit over, but thank you for joining up. I'm sorry I couldn't take questions, but if you do have, feel free to send me an email.
So thank you so very much for your presentation. Thank you to all the participants, and you will receive an email with the link for the survey in it. Please feel free to fill out the survey at your earliest convenience. This concludes the 2021 Hasselbein Academy Virtual Summit. Thank you again for attending, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Hey, Joe, do you know Reggie Reed, who was in Chicago? He was with KP. I was with McDonald's Corporation, but we were classmates at Jesuit in Tampa.
When about? I don't want to start revealing ages.
Reggie Reed was there in the 2000s, but it's a big office in Chicago.
Yeah. I was in LA from 92 until 2005.
Okay.
Yeah. And I traveled a lot. So I was part of what we call the Japanese practice.
Nice.
And 30,000 people we do have. So
big. How old are your grandchildren? How old are your grandchildren?
Right now, my oldest one is 6, turning to 7, and my younger one is 4, girl and boy.
Fantastic. I'm going to send you a gift, and you'll enjoy it. It's one of our programs that Francis has endorsed over the years called Family Table Time to
Wonderful.
do more of this. And my daughters now grown, 33 and 32, are in LA. So they're an actress filmmaker. So they're in that different world, and we have 2 boys
My
in New York.
son is an actor filmmaker. He just made a feature length, and it's doing the festivals now.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and my daughter's a teacher.
That's great. My old company, we tutored 30,000 children how to read. So
wow.
I'm in that education. I don't know if I got your email. It looks pretty dark, but I will do my best. I'm on my smartphone. So
okay.
I'll send you an email and we'll connect.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Shardina.
Okay, thank you. Was Yana, were you here to ask a question?
Yanni? Maybe she just forgot to get out.
Okay, all right. I enjoyed the presentation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for everything.
All right, take care.
Take care, bye-bye.